OnItWithMarie.com. Welcome to this week's Easy Stitch product demo. So in today's video, I'm going to cover several topics. How to apply the Easy Stitch tape for fabric to the fabric. How to get really tight tension using the Easy Stitch scroll rods. And what size scroll rods should I use for my project. So let's start with how to apply the tape to the fabric. Now, whether you're working with like this right here, this is a bias edge, or if you have a serged edge like this one, or even, let me grab this one, a raw edge like this, which I will show you how to put the tape on a raw edge here. You're going to want to make sure your tape is going across the whole width of your fabric. Now, I was asked, can you do like small sections? No, because wherever the tape isn't, is going to lag when you try and tighten it down and you won't get good tension there. So you really need to have tape going across the entire width of your fabric. So I will simply measure my width here. Okay. Cut this, measure, so I'll have two of them. Okay, now I guess I'm going to answer another question here. I put my tape on the front of my fabric because, okay, this isn't scrolled up, but, here, let me tighten these down. But the reason I do it when it's on the front is because if anything touches me, I want it to be the back. If I hold anything, my hands are touching anything, I want it to be the back. I want to protect the front as much as possible because that's what people are going to see. You know, if anything gets dirty, I want it to be the back. So that's why I put the tape on the front of my fabric. So the tape comes in rolls, of course. So I will just kind of roll it the opposite. Woo! It likes my shirt. I'll roll it in the opposite direction just to get it to straighten out a bit. And now on this bias line, to get a straight line is going to be really, really easy. We're just going to simply follow this orange line. Now I could go through and you can see my fabric here's got a bunch of wrinkles in it. I could go through and iron it. Totally perfectly normal. Oh my gosh, it truly loves my shirt. But you'll see, once I get it scrolled up, I probably won't need to iron it because the tension of my scroll rods will take most of the wrinkles out of it because I can get that tight of a tension. Now, we're going to want to mark the center of our fabric before we get started. That way we know when we start scrolling it up, we know where to stop. We know where our center is going to be. We don't want to get to rolling it up and then realize, oh, I forgot to mark it, and then have to undo it all. So, okay, so now you don't want to put this right on the edge of the fabric because there is going to be lots and lots of tension pulling on this. The back is super, super sticky, so it does stay where it's put, but after a while, that could move. So I want to put it up a little bit on the fabric here. That way, if it does move, it's still on the fabric and not moving off of the fabric at all. So, again, this is super, super sticky. This tape is not meant to be reusable. Every new project gets new tape. You will take this off. You'll cut it off of your fabric before you take it to the framer. So now I will only take a little bit off at a time. And with one hand and with the other hand, I'll pull my fabric so it's kind of tight so I can get nice tension. I'm going to place it as close to the edge width-wise to my fabric as I can. Now I'm going to try and be as straight on that orange line as I can. The straighter across I get my tape, the straighter my tension is going to be from top to bottom. And again, you can see I'm kind of pulling my fabric as I go, as well as pulling the bottom part of the tape. I guess, I don't know, what do you call that part? Anyway, I'm pulling the protective part. Oh, that's what I call it. I'm pulling that protective part off as I go. Again, this is super, super sticky. It's really hard once it's on to remove it and reposition it. So I try and get my position as right on as I can. Okay, so now you can see I've got that all positioned along that 1 inch. Now you can see that the tape itself is about 1/4 inch. And you come up 4 or 5 fabric threads above your end. So you're taking up probably about, you know, with both ends, maybe 1 inch, 1.5 inches combined. You can add fabric if you want. I have never added any fabric lengthwise to my fabric because I use tape. I always recommend 3 inches all the way around. Beyond your design size, you know, giving you enough for matting, framing, for pinning, for stretching, whatever you need it for. So if you have that 3 inches, there really is no reason to add any extra for the tape. But, you know, if you were worried or whatever, you could. It just really depends on your personal preference. Okay, now on this end, you can see I have a raw edge. And you can see that it's not necessarily cut straight either. So what I'm going to do to make sure I have a straight line, because the last thing I want to do is to follow this cut line and have my tape, you know, be all wonky and not straight and not pull the tension, you know, as straight as it possibly can from top to bottom. So I'm going to fray until I get a straight line. I'm going to fray this side of my fabric till I have a perfectly straight line going all the way across. So no matter if, you know, for whatever reason, if it was cut funky or if it's a remnant, especially if it's a remnant, you know, that you'll have that straight line to guide you. So I'll just simply fray that until I know I have that. Okay, so now I've got my straight line because I frayed the fabric. I'm going to want to come up 2, 3, 4 fabric threads. I am using a linen here, but I'm going to want to come up 3 or 4 fabric threads from that straight line. So again, I'm not putting it right on the edge where it could move. I want to put it enough on the fabric that if it did move, it's moving onto fabric, not off of fabric. So I'm going to place this on the edge here. Now I'm going to want to try and follow that fabric thread all the way across and just get as straight a line as I can. I've kind of got a built-in line here with these polka dots. They're perfectly lined up, so they're kind of giving me a perfectly built-in line here, so that's kind of nice. Okay, now you can see here it didn't necessarily go all the way to the end. I should be fine because that is on the end. Okay, so now we've got tape on the fabric. So we're gonna jump topics really fast. What size scroll rod should I use? Now I always recommend using scroll rods that are at least 2 inches wider than the fabric you're using. That way you've got enough room, you've got 1 inch on either side that you can put your fingers in to scroll it up. The fabric has room, it's not hitting the sidebar. I had one customer come in, her fabric was 20 inches, so she got 20-inch rods. And she brings it in and she's like, why can I not get the tension I want? And I said, because you're using too short of rods. Even though the fabric and the rods were the same width, you know, you've got to give it its space. So it doesn't hit the sidebar. So it has got enough room widthwise to give you the tension that you needed. We got her 22-inch rods, scrolled it up, perfect tension. So at least 2 inches wider than the width of your fabric. you have 18-inch fabric, 20-inch rods. 30-inch fabric, you'd have to get 36-inch rods because we don't have 32. Now you can always put shorter fabric on longer rods. There's no rule against that. I put, you know, very small projects on longer rods. There's no rules against that. Okay, so let's put this on the rods. Okay, so I'm just gonna line it up here on the tape that's on the rods. Try and center it as best I can. Now, when I scroll this up, I don't want that edge of that fabric to fold over or anything, so I'm going to try and get it to lay as flat as I can get it as I'm rolling it up. Okay, so I'm going to scroll this up till I reach my pin here, my needle here. Then I'm going to tighten down this side knobs. I'm using the metal knobs here. I prefer them. I feel like I get tighter tension with them. But again, it's all personal preference. Okay, I'm gonna scroll this one over till I can do this side. Okay, so I'm just gonna place this as straight as possible. Okay, now I'm gonna scroll this side up. Again, trying to not get that piece of fabric to fold over, to get it to lay as flat as possible. Okay, so now you can see that my needle's moved because it wasn't cinched up really tight over here. So I'm going to cinch it up as tight as I can. Okay, I'm going to tighten down this side's scroll rods. Now, here's how you get your tight tension for your fabric. I am using short sidebars. That should be noted here. The closer together your rods are, the tighter tension you'll get. But I'll show you how you can get just as tight tension on longer sidebars as on these shorter sidebars. So once I've got both sides tightened up, I'm going to go through and I'm going to push here in the center. That's going to cinch it up on both sides. And I'm just going to push that until I get some resistance. Okay, now I'm going to undo one side and I'm going to cinch that up again. I'm going to twist, twist, twist. Okay, I'm going to tighten down that side again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to come here in the center and I'm going to push, 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 push. It'll cinch it up on both sides of the scroll rods. I'm going to undo one side. I'm going to scroll it up again. Now, I am using some longer rods here, and they are the regular rods, and you can kind of see that they are bowing. With the heavy-duty rods, I probably wouldn't be getting this bowing. That's why there are two sizes of rods. Is the regular rods, the longer they go, the more chance they have of bowing. Does this ruin it? No, it doesn't ruin anything. It just means that you've got really good tension going on. So it doesn't ruin anything at all. Okay, and now I've got super drum tight tension. Look at that. Look how nice and tight that is. And because I am using the metal knives, I can crank on these suckers and get them really, really tight down. So let me show you on this one. So tighten both sides again. So this is, these are the 12-inch sidebars, and I've got them, what, 2 holes in, so 12, 10, 8. I've got them 8 inches apart. Again, I'm just going to push on the center here. Okay, so now tighten that down, and look at that. Look how nice and tight that is. I love super tight tension. So that's how I get really tight tension when working on the scroll frames. Now I've had questions, what about tension this way? Well, look, I don't need anything. My tension is so great this way that I don't need any tension this way. I have seen things where there are like fabric grips and stuff, but you know, again, if you use the tape system and you can push on it till you get all that tension secured up around the scroll rods, you don't really need anything going side to side. Now, let's talk about, again, what size scroll rods should I use? Let's say we're going to pretend that this is what, I don't know, 24 inches wide by, we're going to pretend it's 12 inches this way, okay? We're going to pretend. But you don't have 20 inch, 24 inch rods this way. But you do have 14 inch rods. So you're going to take this, we're pretending again, and you're going to wrap it this way around your scroll rods, okay? We're pretending this is 12 inches. Now you could either turn your whole frame, so turn your whole frame like this and, keep stitching because this is the way your pattern is, or simply take your pattern and turn your pattern. Continue to stitch it like this, but turn your pattern so you're now stitching it sideways. So if you have a really long project but it's not really tall, just flip your pattern, and you can still use the Easy Stitch Scroll System, especially if you have, I have 14 inch rods, I don't want to have to buy 24 inch. Well, you don't have to. You can use your 14 inch, either turn your whole frame system so you're holding it this way and stitching, or simply turn your pattern. Totally simple. Okay, well that is just a little bit on how to get really tight tension in your fabric with using the Easy Stitch Scroll System, how to put tape on, and what size scroll rod should I use for my project. Head over to my needlework blog on embroidery.com. I will have close-up pictures of all the projects I've shown you here today, as well as links to all the products as well. Make sure your notifications are turned on, as that's how you'll know a new video is up. And as always, I love to hear your comments and suggestions, so leave those for me below. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Happy stitching, and we'll see you next time.